Hello, and welcome to the February edition of the Intermixed's iMix Take 30, where for 30 minutes every month we sit down and review some of the upcoming and important business aspects of IT security and IT needs that could be affecting your business. For February, we're going to review the 7 critical IT security protections every business must have in place now. Today, I am Scott R. Davis. I'm one of the IT solutions architects at Intermix IT. You can reach me via email at sdavis, D-A-V-I-S, at intermixit.com. You can also follow along on Twitter at Scott R. Davis, also at Intermix IT on Twitter. So let's get started. Just to kind of do some housekeeping questions, if you do have any questions or comments on the webinar, please email me, sdavis@intermixit.com. I know I kind of just covered the email address, but just once again, just hold your questions or comments, email them to me, and if there's time at the end of the session, we'll be more than happy to take some time and answer individual questions, or I will email back to you. So today we are going to review the 7 critical security measures every small business must have and why you need them, why firewalls and antivirus software are not enough anymore, and how mobile phones and cloud applications are jeopardizing your business security and data protection, and of course, some easy steps to protecting your business. Crime has definitely changed a lot. If you think back in time, you would know who your robber was. They would ride up along horse side. They'd climb onto the train. They'd give you the bag. They'd show you the gun. They'd explain exactly what's going on. Today, it's more and more likely that you're going to be affected by a crime in a data breach without even realizing it for several months or potentially even longer than that. If you just look over the world's biggest data breaches, where selected losses greater than 30,000 records, I mean, that's just this one graph here. You got everything from Home Depot, eBay, Adobe, business hacks, Zappos, Apple, UPS, Sony Pictures. The list goes on and on. And ultimately, not only are the hackers attacking these big companies where they're going to get these massive hauls of over 30,000 records, but they're also looking at small businesses. And there's a couple of reasons why they're looking at small businesses, and we're going to get into those a little bit. First, the digital underground's thriving black market. Now, when you think the digital underground, you think the black market, you think everything that you really need. But cybercrime is thriving, and it's growing faster than ever. It's not just a few guys in a garage hanging out anymore. Anything you might need to steal data and rob people can be purchased. You can now buy credit card details, social security numbers, applications, devices, and software that really allow you to start your own crime ring. And it's truly become a thriving business. So if you look kind of credit card details, anywhere from $2 to $90 is what people typically pay on this digital underground. iTunes accounts hitting Apple hard, $8. Physical credit cards, $190. Credit card cloners, $200 and $300. So here's a machine that you input the numbers, and it's literally a card that has your information, your name, their picture, and it really just acts like a regular credit card. And some of the trickier stuff, fake ATMs. You ever thought, hey, I'm walking up, I'm getting money out, I can trust this ATM, it gave me money. But fake ATMs, they work and perform just like the others, but it's actually collecting your data as you're utilizing them. Anyone can easily buy these training tools, buy training tools and services for committing the fraud. Hacking systems, buying stolen credit cards, really, it's thriving, it's growing, and it's not just for educated hackers. Really, anyone can get involved and get started with this. So we're going to jump right in to kind of the 7 critical IT security precautions that your business must have in place now. First one I want to highlight is robust core network infrastructure. And the core infrastructure is the firewalls, the switches. Obviously, when you think of your core network infrastructure, you think of these devices because your firewall brings the internet into your building and segregates the internet outside and inside your network and provides that secure wall. Network switches. Again, that's really the pipeline. That's what's transmitting the data from computer to server, server to server, and everything in between. Cabling, yes, it's a core infrastructure. And the reason I consider it a core infrastructure, and why you should too, is simply how many network jacks do you have in your building? Do you have in your lobby, in a public area of your building, that are connected to the switch but has nothing plugged into? Have you ever looked at those cables? Have you ever looked at where the network drops are in your building? A visitor can come in, plug a simple device in, typically a small device that only just needs that cable to get connected, and they're on your network and potentially wirelessly transmitting data outside of the network or just infecting your network with a virus. Network attached devices. All these devices are typically, you set and forget it. You hook the cables up, you set the firewall up, you set the switch up, you set it, you forget it. You're going to hear me say that a couple times today because really we got to get out of the mindset of set and forget altogether. And really there's maintenance, there's recurring things with firmware updates, subscription security services, and of course scheduled review and maintenance periods that protect the Autobahn of your pathways, if you will. The number two, rock-solid tested and verified backups. Now, what do I mean when I say a rock-solid tested and verified backup? Well, one, your data is only as strong as the weakest point. So, how many of you can tell me that, yes, I maintain and I look at the reports and I see backups are completing successfully. But have you ever attempted to restore a file from that backup? Storing and testing these backups should be routine. It shouldn't be a task. It shouldn't be something that annually you come up and say, hey, did we test our backups this year? It should be something that literally it's just, yes, this month we know our backups are rock solid. We know we verified a couple of them. We feel 100% comfortable that we can restore. The other piece of information with the backups is malware is constantly getting smarter. Some of the latest variants of ransomware will include the ability to erase and disable some of the popular backup methods. And this includes the Windows Server backups, which is built into Windows. And it also, can disable your volume shadow copies, which is, of course, built into Windows Server. Included a little graph there just for some fun. I mean, technically, this is not off-site service, and do I need a larger poll? It's kind of, yeah, that's exactly it. How are you storing your backups on-site and off-site? Number three, social media. 600,000 Facebook accounts are hacked every day, and this is according to the New York Daily News. Social media is also a significant loss of productivity. If you look, contributing to the percentages above, I have, less than an hour, 39%, 1 to 2 hours, 29%. Really there you're looking between Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and the other social media platforms out there. How much of the time are your employees spending on social media, and how much of that social media work is related to their job? Another aspect of social media, and there's horror stories everywhere, and one of them is more recent with a certain ESPN reporter that took to Twitter to answer a Penn State fan's comment of "we are," and he simply replied pathetic. Well, this ESPN reporter obviously is known as ESPN, and it looks bad just on him, but it looks bad on the company he's represented via his Twitter and everything in between. That employee actually was suspended for a week, but there's other examples out there. You look at, there's fast food instances where I think it was a Burger King, someone tweeted or posted a picture of them standing in the lettuce that's used in the buns. It's how do your employees use social media, and if they're utilizing social media at or outside of the office, are they talking negatively about your company? And if they are, do you know it? Password policy, number 4. Passwords are truly a necessary evil. Protect your data. It's the key to the data. How often do you require your end users reset their password? Do you require the passwords to be complex? How are they storing the passwords, and who are they sharing the passwords with? Your password policy, again, is only as strong as the weakest link. No, I use the perfect example is this cartoon. It's open says me. You really need a more secure password. If you find that your users are typically giving their password to IT or other people in the office, that's a no-no. Your users store their passwords at their desk. Some of the popular places I've seen, Post-it notes under the monitor, under the keyboard, a piece of tape with it underneath the keyboard, in the drawer facing upside down. There's just, if it's at the desk, if it's written down, is the password really secure? One of the other things I've seen is unprotected Excel or Word documents listing all of the passwords. That's not secure. If I get access to that file now, I have access to everything that you have documented in there, and you've just made the hacker's job a lot easier. The other thing that I want to bring to note is, do you know all of your passwords? A lot of users will say, well, I'm not sure what that password is, and they may not, but reset the password. There has to be a way to segregate and set your passwords so that you can remember it, and also going forward, storing it in a secure way. If you want to talk more about password policy with me, obviously we can talk about that later. Just shoot me an email because there's so much. You could do a whole 30 minutes on just password policy alone. Malware, ransomware, and antivirus. Now, I put antivirus last for a reason. One, for years, as far back as I can remember, antivirus has been just plugged away, that you need antivirus. Do you have antivirus? No, you need it. Are you updating antivirus? No, well, you need to. So having an active antivirus solution is nothing new, but many antivirus solutions are not protecting against the modern threats that malware and ransomware bring. Just malware alone, according to PC World, there are 82,000 new malware threats released every day. So if you think about this, if you have antivirus and it's updating every other day or every week, and you have malware updates that you update kind of when you run it, how many new threats have been released since your last antivirus update? Typically, we recommend doing an hourly update of antivirus and malware just because of how many new threats are released and discovered every day. So if you're not running both antivirus and anti-malware software, you really need to look at changing your antivirus solution to include that malware or add a second service on top. Complacency. And this is big because this fits the whole set it and forget it mindset. I actually pulled a quote from Andrew Grove, the former CEO of Intel. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. And think about it this way. 1 in 5 small businesses fall victims to cybercrime each year, and that number is growing. That's according to the National Cybersecurity Alliance. Small businesses are low-hanging fruit because they don't believe they're a target and therefore have very loose and or no security systems in place. The amount of network assessments that I complete, that there's not even a simple firewall in place, just shocks me because it's a gateway to your system, a gateway to your business, to your customers, to your clients. It's all right there. And, half of all cyber attacks are aimed at SMBs. That was in a Forbes article. I really don't like that because, yes, half of all cyber attacks may be attributed towards a small business, but you have to understand that most cyber attacks are not aimed at anyone in particular. They're just scanning and looking for that open door on the internet. They're looking for security flaws. They're looking to that easy way in. It's like, I know what the flaw is. I know how to detect the flaw. Let me write this program that just scans random IP addresses until I find one that has that key. And that is really where they're getting you. So yes, half of cyber attacks are aimed at the small business, but it's aimed at it in a way that you're leaving the key to your door right outside where they can reach it, see it, and access it. So let's change that mentality. Mobile cloud computing. Again, I'm just going to touch on this briefly because really I do believe I could spend a whole 30-minute lunch period just talking about mobile and cloud computing. But mobile devices are more powerful and smarter than ever before. Smartphones are not just for email anymore. I'm sure everyone in this room right now with me has email on their smartphone. But do you have line of business applications running on it as well? Do you have Dropbox? Are you using the Intermixit NextDrive Sync? There are programs out there that are storing your files. There are applications that, potentially you have a financial application or you have an application that was built for iOS that ties in to another business application. One that I know a client uses, or several of our clients use, is Allscripts. They have mobile applications. So, how is that tying in, and how are you securing that mobile channel going in? Mobile malware growth is accelerating. Apple iOS has pretty much thus far been very immune to mobile malware, and a lot of that is attributed to how they lock their system, where every application that goes through has to be approved and has to kind of go through that checks and balances. But there is iOS malware, and it's typically found on those jailbroken iPhones. So if you have end users that are kind of tech savvy that want to, just unlock their iPhone and they're getting apps from those other Apple stores where it's not Apple, ultimately there could be malware even on those iPhones. But mobile malware growth has accelerated by leaps and bounds. And one of the biggest areas is the Android operating system. But really, we all have mobile phones. We all use them to access company email. And just touching on email, have you ever gotten an email that has client confidential information? It may not have a social security number, but maybe a credit card number, maybe the first name, last name, birth date, maybe just information or information about your employees. Do you email back and forth payroll information? Do you send back and forth a password? It's like, hey, what's your password? Hey, here. What that does is if you have your email on your phone, that then attributes all of those emails that are on your phone, and it's actually pushing it back. And it's giving, if someone picks your phone up at, the local Denny's that you left it behind, they now have access to all those emails potentially. Some of the things obviously you want to do is educate the users. If they can't locate their phone, all of the modern day email servers will include a kill switch that will allow you to lock the device and potentially even wipe it if it's not found. So that's eliminating all of the company data from that device. You have, other tools. Apple, going back to iOS, Apple has the iCloud system that allows you to locate the device and lock the device. But ultimately, one of the core things I would recommend doing is ensuring that you have at least the simple policy of requiring a passcode or a lock command to lock it. So you can't just open it, swipe it, and you're in, because that just opens up the door. How much data do you have on rogue cloud apps? I want to talk about Dropbox. Dropbox is a great program at sharing files with other people and ultimately sharing files from work and home. But do you know if your users are using Dropbox? A lot of companies that I talked to, they were unaware that someone was utilizing Dropbox, but it's taking company information, company data, putting it so that you can work remotely. But how secure is that solution? And if Dropbox is compromised, are you prepared then to tell your clients that potentially they had information that was stored in Dropbox that now potentially is also at risk? So what are the average costs associated with a colon record? What is the number? Does anyone really know? Can you put a number on something like that? Well, you can kind of put an average, but that's really about it. And the average is going to come out right around $201. Now, that number doesn't encompass all of the costs of a data breach into your organization. So, you have to think, what is the reputational damage? Are you going to lose clients over the data breach? If, you have a competitor and they haven't had a loss of client data, but you have, that person may be more apt to going to that vendor instead of you. Any class action lawsuits, individual lawsuits, your legal fees tied up in that. Compliance lawsuits or fines for non-compliance. If you follow PCI or HIPAA compliance, there's compliance fines for losing the data. How do you replace the data? What is the downtime? What is the loss of productivity for your office? Now you're sitting in a situation where you're not sure what the overall scope of damage is. But as you're finding out what that scope of loss is, you have people just sitting around waiting to be told that they can work on certain files in a certain way. So you're losing productivity. You're losing downtime of those people. And just remember, just because you're a small business, that doesn't mean your customer's information is any less valuable to them. What are you doing to be a good steward to their information? Think about that for a second. It's just data to you, but to them it's their data. It's their social security number. It's their private information. How are you protecting them? And would you feel comfortable with the same company protecting your data in the same way, or a different company protecting that data in the same way? So just think about that. But let's get into it. How do you protect your business? One, proactive remote monitoring and management. We call that RMM here, but we utilize a tiered security strategy that detects and blocks internet threats. Our tiered security strategy includes OpenDNS, intrusion protection, malware scanning at the firewall level, proper management of workstations and servers, and then your base level Bitdefender antivirus and behavioral analysis. Now, part of our remote management monitoring and management package, or our program, we do regular sit-downs where we review password policy with you. We review reports. We take our time to really educate you so that you can educate the end users on things that they are doing that maybe we should do a little differently or in a different fashion. So OpenDNS is really the base level, blocks the connections to malicious websites to prevent infections before the end users even load the site. This is web filtering that blocks known phishing sites and the ability to create the custom profiles. So really we can say for these people here that are typically on the phone all day, they really don't need access to social media, but our marketing department needs access to the social media sites. So we can create custom profiles to kind of go with different departments in your organization. But one of the neat things with OpenDNS is it comes with predictive intelligence. And what this does is it uncovers when and where new cyber attacks are being staged. And it actually blocks them before you even realize that there was a need to block it, or before the threat even gets to your inbox. So OpenDNS is a wonderful tool, and it blocks, it covers, and it's been one of the best tools we've used here to kind of help protect our clients. Proper firewall security. Of course, we recommend the use of Cisco Meraki, Dell SonicWall firewalls, but really any device, any firewall, when properly licensed and utilized, should provide intrusion prevention, some form of malware virus detection, and other key features to protecting your infrastructure. Now, why do you need malware virus detection here and also on OpenDNS? Well, OpenDNS provides that front layer, but threats can still get in. Just because OpenDNS hasn't classified a link as malware yet doesn't mean that spam or that phishing email hasn't come to your inbox already. And if the end user clicks on that link, well, malware virus, it's on your network. And the bottom line is having a firewall with the ability to scan and detect threats before it hits the workstation level. So really it falls into a three-tiered approach, or really almost a four-tiered, is OpenDNS, the firewall, so your core infrastructure, protecting that. And part of that is also making sure that the firmware is updated, your licenses are up to current, and staying on top of it, no longer setting and forgetting. Workstation server management, the Intermixit remote monitoring and management system will scan and automatically deploy Windows updates and third-party software updates automatically. That includes Java, iTunes, Adobe Flash, Adobe Reader. And it's important to secure the third-party software just as much as Windows, because so many of the malware phishing sites to infect your computer, they will actually utilize a hole in Java, a hole in Flash, a hole in Reader to actually infect your system. So the third-party software is just as critical. You have Bitdefender Antivirus, the final layer of security for your network. Bitdefender is the antivirus and malware scanner installed locally on each station. And this is what we use. There's obviously McAfee, there's Norton, but we use Bitdefender because it's not just antivirus, it's also anti-malware. And it also includes behavioral analysis. So with behavioral analysis, Bitdefender is able to detect the majority of the variants of the crypto malware. And it's just really cool how it does it. Bitdefender is it doesn't take a lot of resources on the system when it's running during the day, so rarely do we see an issue where an end user, after getting over to Bitdefender, is seeing a slower system. So there's a lot of benefits and why we choose Bitdefender, but obviously there are other solutions. Just looking here, PC Magazine, Editor's Choice, 7-time winner. Those are 7 recent years. So Bitdefender is one of the top-notch antivirus, anti-malware solutions out there. The bottom line, you need to get serious about protecting your company against cybercrime. You need to get serious about protecting your company against cybercrime. I have to say it twice because it's that important. If you're not serious, if you're not thinking that you're at risk, then, we need to talk one-on-one after this seminar, because I don't want to scare you into believing that you're at risk, but at the same time, you want to be able to answer those questions of when was the last time was the firewall patched or a firmware update applied? Are the security services applied correctly? Am I protecting against malware at a multiple tiered? Are my backups? When was the last time a backup was tested? If you can't answer simple questions like that, then there is conversation that's needed after this 30. So 3 steps to protect your organization. Step one, a threat assessment. It's exactly what it sounds like. With Intermix IT, we use a 57-point threat assessment where we can tell you the who, what, where, when of your network. We're telling you what's lacking in your security right now, how your employees are using the company-owned devices, what third-party cloud apps are being utilized. That answers the question, does anyone in your company utilize a Dropbox? Are your systems truly backed up? We'll test, we'll verify, we'll look to see how your backups are running. Are they off-site? Are they on-site only? Where are you exposed to risk? And whose job is it to just make sure your network is protected? And how do you know they're doing their job? Second step is the action plan. We're going to outline the critical and moderate threats and provide an in-depth roadmap to securing your network. Step 3, ongoing maintenance. With our proactive network management, you can feel safe knowing we're monitoring and securing your network and data 24/7, 365. Now, that, to me, is the peace of mind. It's knowing that the monitoring software is working correctly. We're testing it regularly, and there's times we're even going to test it with you to make sure a text message comes in. But just, get the assessment, create the action plan, figure out the maintenance plan, and you're going to just sleep better knowing your data and your company is safe. But the best part, the first step is free. All you have to do is visit intermixit.com. That's intermixit.com/IT survey. Complete the IT analysis questionnaire, and you can receive a no-cost or obligation network threat assessment, which includes our 57-point network assessment, a client risk summary, the asset detail report, the action plan, and a whole lot more. So really, it's free. Is there any reason not to at least be able to answer some questions or find out that, yes, your network is rock solid and you are protected against the 7 critical IT security precautions that we reviewed today? But with that, I do want to just say thank you all for tuning in. I hope you all had a great informative lunch with me. Again, my name is Scott Davis. You can email me at sdavis@intermixit.com. And you can also find me on Twitter at Scott R. Davis. I also recommend you follow the @IntermixIT, as we post a lot of good information on there on Twitter and also Facebook. So with that, I want to thank you all again for coming out. If you do have questions, I can't wait to answer them for you. Thank you.